Hey, it's Andrew. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about which attribution setting you should choose to get the best performance out of your Facebook ads. Now, most people, when they're setting up their ads, they just kind of go through and skip over the attribution setting and leave it on whatever the default is. Now, that can actually be a huge mistake because this setting can have a massive impact on the overall performance of the ads and the results that you get. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through which attribution setting is best for you in your situation and why. Let's dive in. So the first thing to talk about is what attribution settings actually do. So the attribution setting determines the amount of time in which Facebook will take conversion events and attribute them back to your ads and ad sets. It also determines the time window or time period in which it will attribute those conversions and use them to further optimize the performance of your ads. So basically what that means is Facebook's algorithm will learn from the conversion events that occur within the attribution setting that you choose. For example, if you choose a 7-day click attribution, that means that any conversions that occur within 7 days of somebody clicking on your ad will then feed back to Facebook. Those conversions will be attributed to that particular ad and ad set. And those conversions that happened within 7 days will also be fed into Facebook's algorithm and used to continue to optimize your ads. Any conversions that occur outside of that 7-day click window will not be used in the optimization process for your ad set and your ads. Now, if we look at an example with a 1-day click attribution setting, that means that only conversions that occur within 1 day of somebody clicking on your ad will actually be used to further optimize that particular ad set. So it's a much shorter window in this case, which means Facebook is going to be getting less data. And then we also have the view option. So you'll notice that you've got a 1-day click and 1-day view option, and you've also got a 7-day click and 1-day view option. That means that Facebook will also attribute conversions where somebody saw an ad in the newsfeed, didn't necessarily click it, but they saw it within 1 day of then completing a conversion event. That data will also feed back and be attributed to your ads if they convert, and it will also be used in the optimization process. So now that we know what these attribution settings actually mean and what they do, which one should you actually choose? Well, the answer is it depends, but I'm going to help you figure out which is best for you in your particular situation, rather than just giving you the answer that I use because that mightn't suit you. First, let's talk about 1-day click. This is what I used to use basically all of the time when I ran conversion campaigns, particularly for when I was generating leads, because in that scenario, usually what I was doing was I was sending traffic to a landing page where they could opt in to my email list and become a lead. It wasn't very common, or it's still not very common, for somebody to click an ad, go to a landing page, and then maybe come back 2 or 3 days later, enter their name and email and submit it. Usually it happens within a day. But what I've noticed since iOS 14.5 rolled out and App Tracking Transparency, or ATT, is that the 1-day click option has become very expensive. And the results from it haven't been good either. Now, my theory here is that there just isn't enough conversion data, or there isn't enough volume getting back to Facebook in order for it to really optimize well. Because that 1-day window is so short, and Facebook, as we know, is only using the conversions that happen within 1 day of them clicking this ad when we choose this option, it means that the amount of conversion data being fed to the algorithm is super limited, and I think that really is affecting Facebook's ability to optimize when we choose the 1-day window. Maybe if you're generating hundreds of leads or sales each and every day, this would be different, but in most cases, I think you're going to run into this same problem. Now, the reason I say hundreds per day is because with iOS 14.5 and ATT, Facebook actually isn't tracking as many conversions as it used to. It loses a lot of that data because people are opting out for privacy reasons and Facebook can't track them. And so that loss of data plus the short conversion window just leaves a huge gap. Now, Facebook are working to fill that gap, and to do that, they've created something they call conversion modeling. With conversion modeling, what they do is they're using data from multiple other sources to try and measure and track conversions where they can't do it directly. And when you choose the 1-day click attribution window, Facebook is actually using their conversion modeling to fill the gap. But what I find is that this conversion modeling isn't super accurate. You either get over-reporting or under-reporting. The numbers just aren't matching up to what we're actually seeing on our back end in terms of the number of leads and sales that we're actually generating. And I think this messy data and this conversion modeling isn't quite where it needs to be in order to really help and add value. So in this case, it just isn't working. I think it will improve, but it's not there yet. All right, all of that said, let's move on and talk about the 7-day click attribution window now. Now, the 7-day click attribution window is something that they actually made the default when iOS 14.5 rolled out. So Facebook went and said, okay, we realize that we're going to lose a lot of data here and 1-day click conversion windows maybe won't work as well, so we'll make the default 7-day click. Now, I was actually going with 7-day click for the last few months, particularly after iOS 14.5 rolled out, and noticed significantly better results. And again, you've probably guessed that's because of the longer conversion window, meaning we have more conversion data available and going back to Facebook, and then being used to continually optimize our ad sets. So 7-day click does seem to be performing for me better than 1-day click. The only situation where I'd really use 1-day click at the moment now is if you have something where you only ever get conversions happening. It's only possible to convert within 1 day of them clicking on your ad. That's really rare. So for most people, I would say 7-day click is probably a better situation right now as of recording this than 1-day click. But for me, that's actually changing again at the moment. As of September 23rd, 2021, Facebook actually moved to make 7-day click or 1-day view the default attribution setting. So that means whenever you create a new ad set now, that is going to be the default setting. Unless you change it, you are going to be using 7-day click or 1-day view. Now, I've been testing this and comparing 7-day click to 7-day click or 1-day view. And I am finding that using 7-day click or 1-day view as my attribution setting is actually giving me better performance. Now, when I say better performance, what I mean is that the quality of the leads that I'm getting from that is actually better. The cost is actually slightly higher when I compare it to just 7-day click, but because the lead quality is so much better, I am tending to use 7-day click or 1-day view. So for most situations, that is what I recommend you use right now. 7-day click or 1-day view. And if you do want to run a test, compare that to just 7-day click and see how it works for you. But what I am going to say to you is that it is really important that you continually test these things for yourself. Test them and see what works for you. And then remember to keep testing this regularly, because what I will say to you right now is I do expect this to change again. I've just described to you a situation where I used to use 1-day click, then I moved to 7-day click, and now I'm actually using 7-day click or 1-day view. And as Facebook evolves and as they improve their reporting post iOS 14.5, I do expect this to shift once again. So it is important that once you find what's working, you don't just lock that in and use that forevermore moving forward. You continually, on a regular basis, test different attribution settings and see what the results are like for you. That's what I'll be doing, and I'll be sharing my results on the channel, obviously, but that is what I recommend you do as well. The other thing that I think is really important to mention right now is that it is important for you to get as much data back to Facebook to feed that algorithm and to feed the optimization process as you possibly can. And we know that with things like Safari browser starting to block more and more cookies and tracking, we know that people are using ad blockers, and we know there are all these different privacy changes coming out that are restricting the use of cookies and really affecting the pixel. So it's extremely important that you're using the Facebook pixel alongside the Facebook conversion API to push as much data as possible back to Facebook to go ahead and improve the performance of your ad. Now, if you haven't set up the conversion API, I recommend you do that as soon as possible. I've got a video on that right here that you can check out. That will show you the easiest, fastest way to set up the conversions API for anyone, even if you're not tech savvy. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.